when President Clinton was elected, I knew nothing about him, governor of Arkansas. I didn't study anything about him, but I was preaching at a conference, and I said, Lord, is there something you want me to preach? And this was Thursday after the election, because the election was on Tuesday. That's right, because we did Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And he said, go to the book of Kings. I went to the book of 1 Kings. He said, the spirit of Ahab and Jezebel's coming to Washington.
Oh.
And so I thought, okay, if you're telling me that, you're going to have to show me. So let's go back over the 8 years and let's just see. Number one, the Bible says Ahab and Jezebel lived in an ivory house. That's a white house. Mm-hmm. It's the only place in the Bible the color of a house is mentioned as white house. Okay, you ready for this one? Number two, they were involved in a land deal. And it was a land deal to get Naboth's land. Okay, they had a land deal called Whitewater in Arkansas that became a controversy. Mm-hmm. Number three, an innocent man named Naboth died connected to the land deal. Vince Foster died, an innocent man connected to the land deal. She signed, Jezebel signed papers in Ahab's name, and Hillary signed papers for the land deal in the law firm. I could go on and on, but the biggest one was this. This one is crazy. It says that only place in the Bible where it mentions a lying spirit is with Ahab and Jezebel. It says a lying spirit deceived him, and Bill Clinton lied under oath and was impeached because of a lie under oath.
Yes.
Now here's a big one. Ready? When he leaves office, she still is seeking the ivory house.
Oh.
And I predicted in 2000, when Bill Clinton is gone, Hillary Clinton will run for president. And they said, how can you predict it? I said, because the Bible says in Ecclesiastes 1:10, that which has been is that which shall be. And I said, once you see a pattern develop like this, you can follow that pattern all the way through. Now, when President Obama was elected, and again, I didn't know a lot about him. I knew what he was saying, and I'm going to fundamentally change America. I went to the Torah reading, which occurred when he was putting his hand on the Bible, being sworn in the Lincoln Bible. And I wanted to know that week in the synagogue what was read. And this verse was read that week in the synagogue. And there arose a new Pharaoh in Egypt who did not know Joseph. And I predicted, I publicly said, this man will be the most unfriendly president toward Israel. He's not going to know Joseph. He's not going to understand the covenant. In fact, I got a call. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I got a call from a Jewish family. It was a Jewish lady. They're billionaires. And she called me on the phone. She says, isn't it great that we now have the first African-American president? I said, absolutely. I said, I think that gets us over the issues of the 60s and 70s, and I think it's great. But I said, I want to warn you, he will not be friendly to Israel. And she says, how can you say that? And I told her the pattern. I said, and 8 years later, President Obama was the most unfriendly president toward Israel and non-supportive of any president we ever had. So that was that pattern, okay? Right. And then President Bush's pattern is so long, I'm not even going to get into that. But the one thing I want to tell you about President Trump, there's two things, and you may have already had guests on talk about this, but I add some parts to it, was he was elected in the Jewish year 5777, and I'm sure you're aware of that, but the seventh letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Zayin, and it looks like a stick with a little part, just a little piece on top of it there, a little part on top of it. But the interesting thing about that letter is that it can represent three things. Now, these are Jewish rabbis telling you this. I'm not making this up. Ready? Number one is it's a weapon, meaning warfare. So I predicted, now this is not just now, I predicted that whoever the president would be, and believing it would be Trump, I said he will have the worst year of warfare in 5777 that he can't even imagine. Now, I'm not thinking just warfare with another country or a battle with troops. Who knew it would be warfare right there in D.C. and with the media, how bad it's been. And I said, number two, I said the letter Zayin also represents the return of light. And I said, this year we're going to see the light expose things.
Wow.
Things are going to get exposed. And I said, and actually, if you look at what started happening from the Jewish New Year, which happened in the early fall, with Hillary's email and all that, it started coming out. The light started exposing that on the Jewish year. Okay, you know, the things people didn't know. And the third thing about the letter Zayin was, this is so crazy, is it is one of those letters that can have a little crown put on it. You know, they have different letters they design, they put little crowns. And it can mean the crowning of a man. So I told people 3 times in 2016, I said, this could imply strongly that Donald Trump will become the next president of the United States.